Hi.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome. Right. Hi. Oh, and we've got one dog. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, lovely. Skylar, do you want me to just jump right in?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do the thing. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for your patience. My Zoom, of course, decided to update the exact moment that I was trying to start this call, which is just absolutely classic. So yeah, we've got a handful of people here. Do we want to maybe just take a quick sec and do some introductions just so I can get to know you all? And I'd love to know if you're a musician or performer, or if you're in just the music industry. Maybe just let me know your name, and that would be great. Skylar, you start.
I was going to say, who do we want to start with? We'll make our way around right on. So, hello, my name is Skylar. Most of you I met in our intro workshop last week, but bit of background, I'm the social media coordinator for Summerfolk, a graduate of Fanshawe College Music Industry Arts, and I'm currently working on my degree in community music at Laurier.
Awesome. Cool. Do we want to just go down the list? You all have the same view if you hit tiled. Maybe if Ryan, you want to go next?
Hello, my name is Ryan. I graduated MIA, same as Skylar, last year, and just currently trying to find a job in the music industry right now. I had one lined up, but COVID.
Yeah, classic. And in engineering and production, and what was
Live sound.
live sound? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's a bit of a hard niche right now.
Yeah, it's tough to tough to get going.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you, Ryan. All right, Kimmer.
Hi, I'm Kimmer. I'm a musician. I'm also the coordinator for the Youth Discoveries program with Summerfolk as well. So I'm just here to get lots of information to pass on to those lovely youths and maybe use a few tips myself. So
Awesome. All right. Welcome. Thank you.
thanks.
And I'm Jarrett. I'm the operations manager for Summerfolk
Cool.
and or Folk Society, I guess, and also a musician and writer and producer and live sound and all of that stuff, which is obviously has seen a pretty big change the last little while.
Yeah. It's not doing so hot at the moment. No.
Well, it's a tough one.
Well, nice to meet you. Thanks for the background. Marion, or I don't want to mispronounce your name. Could you pronounce it properly for me? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's right, Marion. Yep. So I'm Marion, and I live up in Nogojiwanong, Peterborough, just outside of Peterborough. And I'm more of a visual artist, and I do communication skills, conflict resolution trainings, and sort of stress reduction and that kind of thing. And so I'm just a big Summerfolk fan and wanted to support this initiative and do some learning together with folks. I see my cousin. Hi, Mary. And Rico, my cousin Rico and Mary.
Oh, that's so nice. And that was Rico's hand. Hi, Rico's hand. Very nice to meet you. Thanks. Well, Rico and Mary, we've just received your informal introduction.
Yeah, I'm the poet laureate of Owen Sound, and I do performance poetry, and I'm trying to get a stage show running, which is of course a bit of a non-starter these days. So I'm trying to get my ducks lined up in a row for when things start opening up again, and get some strategies together for like a whole marketing plan and just promotions and the whole 9 yards.
Got it. Okay, cool. Good to know. Excellent. And Mary, are you also a
Well, no, I'm the first lady of poetry of Owen Sound.
love that?
I'm just kidding. And that I'm just here really to support Rico. We do also perform as Deep Blue Honey, but we're not at the level of all the other musicians who are on board here.
Okay, cool. Don't cut yourself short. I'm sure you both are excellent. That's
They're
great.
amazing.
Thanks, Marion.
Cool. Well, thank you. Nice to meet you both. All right, we want to do Kailey and Mike and Ginger and Jeffrey. Is the dog, can I take a guess? Is the dog one of the names listed there? I feel like maybe he is.
Yeah, he just left for a moment. He'll be back. That's Jeffrey. The cat is Ginger, and she'll be back also. I'm Kailey, and Michael's here. He had me redo the camera positioning, and now he's off screen. So I don't know if that was strategic or not, but
It seems like Zoom cuts off part of the screen now. I don't know.
Oh, classic Zoom.
Well
Classic.
played, Mike.
yeah, no, keep moving over. He says. Anyway, we're both kind of aspiring musicians, summer folk volunteers, keenly interested in everything to do with music, and just kind of wanting to absorb all of this stuff.
Cool. Okay, great. Well, nice to meet you all, and I can't wait for your dog to come back. We have a new dog on the screen too. Kimmer also has a dog I'm seeing coming in and out. Very nice. And I know that the next guy. Hi, Sam.
Hello, Kelly.
How
It's
are
nice to see you.
you? It is so nice to see you.
Oh, good to be here. Kelly and I have shared a stage before. I'm a musician based here in Guelph, and I just started a new job at the University of Guelph in their music department. That'll involve doing some social media work. So
Hey, that's cool.
I abandoned social media for most of the pandemic, but I really need to need to gear up, so this will be perfect.
Well, congratulations. That's fantastic. I moved to Guelph. I did it sneakily. Nobody knows, but I'm in Guelph. So
Right now?
yeah, right now.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Well, I'm so glad, Kelly.
Yeah, we'll chat after this. Nice to
Sounds
see
good.
you.
Nice to see you.
And David, I recognize David as well. How are you, David?
Oh, good. I'm a musician in the Niagara region. I was in a couple of the jumble jams at Summerfolk in a couple of years,
Yes.
some time ago. So I got a lot of music on various social media, and I've done a couple of live streams on Facebook Live.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
And we've got Leith.
Yeah, hi, my name is Leith. My pronouns are she or they. I am actually a graduate of the music program at the University of Guelph many years ago. I live in Sault Ste. Marie now, and I'm not I'm a hobby musician. I'm not a professional musician, and I am largely here as an interested audience member. I like knowing what's going on.
Cool. Okay. Well, excellent. Very nice to meet you. That's very cool. And we've got, last but not least, Beth. Hello, Beth.
Hi. Sorry, I'm having a few technical difficulties. You may or may not get a chance to see me. Okay. That probably won't. I'm a non-professional musician. I play fiddle and percussion, but I coordinate a group in Ottawa called the Ottawa Cape Breton Session. So I'm spending a lot of time getting musicians in the right place and all trying to play the same thing at the same time, at more or less the same tempo. And I also coordinate these social media and websites for that group. I also do similar work for my church musicians, and when that's all switched to online recently. So this is all very relevant for me in the two different spheres of music that I'm involved with.
Cool. Excellent. Well, very nice to meet you. Thank you all. That was extremely helpful. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to give you a bit of background information on me and why you should care about who the heck I am and what kind of value I can bring to you all. So my full name is Kelly Samuel. I am a musician as well. I used to be part of the group Olivia and the Creepy Crawlies. Summerfolk has been my favorite festival probably of all time. I met my fiance in the band that we both joined and both played in. He grew up actually as a Summerfolk baby, and that was how I was introduced to the family, which is kind of neat. So I currently, I did not graduate from music industry arts or any music related program, but the entirety of my band did. And later they asked me to become a professor of social media for music industry arts, which is what I do on the side. But I also have a full-time gig as the social media director for a marketing agency based out of Toronto. So I have the business side of it, and I also have the musical side. I've slept on lots of floors, and I've drank lots of stale beer, and I've played shows to absolutely nobody, and you know, we've we've all been there. So I hope that there's going to be lots of value that I'll be able to provide, and I will do my best to make sure that it's tailored to what you've all mentioned, your kind of your own vested interest in this. At any point in time, please feel free to stop me. I am used to teaching. I've taught something like this multiple times, but I'm usually used to teaching, you know, this course 1 hour a week over the course of 16 weeks. So this is a crash course. This is not, you're not going to walk away and have a complete marketing plan or a complete social media plan by any means. I will include a shameless plug because I feel confident in the plug I'm about to make. So I wrote a book. It is incredibly cheap. It is $20. You can buy it off of Amazon, and it is the textbook that I used for my course. I tried to make it as affordable as possible. If you want more information, you can check that out. There's not another way that you can get this information unless you sign up for MIA. So that's it. I will give you approximately 30 seconds to ask me any personal questions whatsoever. Anything fair game.
What's your book called?
Oh, that's a good question. It's called Double Tap, musicians, sorry, social media for musicians and artists. If you search Kelly Samuel Double Tap, it'll pull it up. It's a lavender cover with lavender and yellow. All right. Inappropriate questions, go ahead. Well, not inappropriate, but inappropriate and how personal you may ask me. Go ahead.
Is that your actual living room, or is that a Zoom background?
That's a really good question that I don't get enough. This is the, what's the word? Attachment? This room was not the original house. That's actually the original outside of my home. And now I'm in, this is my office space.
Very nice. It's very nice.
Thank you very much. All right. This is usually a lot funnier with college students because they always just go for your neck right immediately. Like they'll ask you some really, really strange questions.
Have you found the pandemic? A lot of people thought that artists were going to create a ton of stuff during this pandemic, and most of the people that I know have gone the other way and had a hard time creating. How have you found it?
You know what? It is so rude of people to assume that we will take this time as a gift. Like, no, this is not a gift. We're all being forced into seclusion. It's actually a very difficult time, and you can't be forced to create art when you're miserable and you have no outlets. It's like, I mean, I think it's really great for the few that are thriving in this, but I think the far majority are having a very rough go, and you're not supposed to make the best of your time. You're supposed to just survive it. So I don't know if you agree, but that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I figured I'd have an album done by now, and I haven't started. So
Oh, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. It's been hard. Something that we didn't talk too much about in the little intros that we just discussed, I am going to talk a little bit about pivoting from live music to live streaming and how to make that more of a personal process. That's usually the big question that comes up in my other lectures, because you know, we have to figure out some ways to generate revenue and also to still feel connected to our people. So we will get into that. And so sincerely, the first 30 minutes, I'm going to do my absolute best. We're going to motor through what would be like a general setup, how I would set up socials for a band or for a musical act or for a persona. But it's very, 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 it's not going to be very detailed. So if you have questions, you can message me afterwards. I'll be happy to help. Okay, before we get started, any questions or any other things that you'd like us to get into before that? No, we're all gravy. All right, okay. So right off the bat, when we are creating social media for anyone, you have to determine if you are going to create a persona for your social media, or if we're going to run authentically with the brand voice that comes naturally to you. And I say this because there are many people that they find it very difficult to separate their own voice from their art. And there are some people that are the complete opposite. They want to create a separate project from themselves so that if they change their mind, they can wrap it up and they can put that away, and then they can start a new persona and start over. We're going to talk a little bit about that because it's very important, and it's a question that comes up a lot. Do I create a new Instagram account or a new Facebook account or a new account in general for my social channels, or do I just adapt my personal channels? I'm going to tell you there is no right answer for this. There are pros and cons to doing both. Can I just get a quick show of hands, and I'll continue to poll you as we do this stuff. Who here has separate social media channels for their personal and their music? Okay. Kind of, a little bit, okay. And for everyone that didn't, you're using the same social media channels for your personal and your music. Okay, okay. So actually, I don't think we really need to get too much into that. Then I think it's just for, I'm sorry, I forgot your name already. I'm really bad with it if I can't see it on the screen. Yes. What's your name again, my friend?
Jarrett.
Jarrett, okay. So is that, do you want to continue with that, or are you hoping to actually branch out eventually? Because that'll just determine how I explain this.
That is my biggest question. So
Sure.
the thing is like, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've always been a live musician. I was a bass player for hire for a long time, and I've done my own stuff live, and I've always been able to just do fine live. So I've mostly ignored social media in that way. I've been in bands that have done lots of social media work, but not me for myself. So now I have, a fairly extensive network online on several different platforms, but I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know if I should start separate stuff for music, or if I should just take what I have and turn it into my self-promotion.
Cool. Okay, that's a good place to start. So if you are trying to position yourself as a musician for hire or as a member of a greater group, I don't actually recommend setting up separate channels. And the reason why I don't recommend this is because it'll be extremely confusing to those that you've networked with already, and you're essentially just going to continue using your social platforms as a networking tool at that point. The only reason you'd want to actually separate them is if you're going to, privacy would be a bit of a concern for you if you were generating an audience and a fan base that are outside of people that you actually know, that you would feel uncomfortable if they knew personal information about you. That's really the separation. So me personally, so I have an Instagram account, and I grew it out, and I decided to do a bit of the influencer content creation thing. The pros of this are good because people see you have a platform, and then it immediately impacts the way that they view your music. It doesn't really matter across the board. It doesn't even matter if you've done a really good job with it or not. If you have a large Instagram following, people immediately assume that is going to generate more revenue for the bar or the venue or whatever it might be. So it can actually be a really great selling tool, just the number, and that's it. The cons of that are you have no personal life, and you have to actually invite strangers in to understanding and knowing you on a personal level, when not a lot of people will be comfortable doing that in the long term. And to be successful in these spaces, the more authentic you can be, the better it'll perform, the more engagement that you'll get. So if you are going to position it as an extension of yourself, you have to give it all. You've got to do everything that you would normally do, and you have to essentially be yourself online, which is exhausting. It's a lot of work. I would recommend keeping them separate if you can. but the payoff is actually so much greater if you don't. So I will leave you with that. It's obviously a very difficult question to answer. Okay, so we've got our separate channels, and for Garrett, we've just got our one channel. Right off the bat, we're thinking about, okay, so the type of music that we're actually creating, is it niche enough? Do we have multiple different genres that we're working on? If we do, you're going to want to simplify that for the space. So we've talked about Instagram. Anyone here on TikTok? Show of hands. Cool. Okay, a couple of you. Okay, this sounds like a very silly thing to talk about, but we're just going to take a few minutes to discuss it. It has been 10 years since the last social media platform went mainstream. Snapchat was launched in 2011. Previous to that, Instagram the year before. It has literally been it's been 10 years since the last major social media platform launched. This means that, in that first year that Instagram was out, you can put out absolutely anything. There weren't a lot of content creators, so people grew really, really quickly. The same thing goes for TikTok. Actually, you guys might know John Muirhead, another Summerfolk alumni. He's so incredibly talented, and he's taken advantage of this on TikTok. Same thing with Trevor Dubois, Charlie the Kid. It's because the platform does not have a lot of people on it just yet, it is so easy to grow exponentially. So if you haven't already, I would download TikTok, and this can be the perfect test ground to figure out what genre is going to stick for you. So if you've got multiple different genres that you're playing with, if you're like, yeah, I've got a really like excellent Celtic thing that I like to do, but then I'm also experimenting with some like indie folk that's a little bit fresher, a little bit modern, and maybe they're not exactly the same. You can actually put up snippets of everything you do on TikTok, and whatever performs the best, stick with it. Just try it out. It seems like everyone here has already really established what their sound is and what they really like to do, which is cool, maybe with the exception of a couple of you. But so we want to determine our genre and who's listening to the genre of music. So you'd actually want to figure this out as if they were a physical person. How old would be that person? What gender would they identify with? What are some of their interests, and what is their geographic location? So the way I like to do this with brands, which is how we should apply this, you'd actually want to write this out. You'd want to have anybody involved in your team, and your team for social media should actually be pretty extensive. You should have somebody that edits anything that goes out. This can be a friend, this can just be another musician. It's really simple to just be like, please check this out for me. Make sure I didn't spell anything wrong. Make sure I didn't make a big mistake. Just take a look for me. You could have a content creator, so maybe somebody that takes images for you, or makes really cool graphics, and maybe you have some kind of arrangement with. This could be a community manager, so somebody that's essentially monitoring your comments in your inbox. And again, like as your account grows, you do actually require more hands-on people. But for now, this might just be other musicians that are in your niche that also want to grow. You might just want to have a bit of brainstorm session and be like, okay, so we're in the same genre of music. What would this person look like? Who is our ideal listener? Once you've determined that, you're actually going to figure out your brand voice online, your brand aesthetic online, and do we have time? Yeah, we'll try and get into it. Your content strategy. Okay, so your brand voice, the way that we speak online, there are so many different languages outside of just written English. So if our demographic is very young, there's a lack of punctuation, and there's a lack of actual words in general. There's less prose, there's more emojis. There's a lot more intention in each word. There's a lot less emotion. If you're going for an older demographic, you might actually overuse punctuation. You might be really warm and fuzzy and really kind and compassionate in the way that you're speaking. You might be speaking paragraphs instead of speaking in, a matter of words. So in the chat, maybe I'll give you an example of this. Okay. So when we talk about tone, if this was a caption, so I've just written flowers out now with an X and a flower. This would actually run a lot younger in terms of our brand voice and our brand tone. If we wanted to make this more compelling to an older demographic, how would we do that based on what I just said? Anyone take a stab? Take a chance on me.
Maybe you could
Well,
say
a lot of my
something like,
demographic. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, maybe you could say something like, wait, flowers is in like, that's the title of a new song?
Yeah, maybe that's the title of the song that just released, yeah.
Okay, you could say something like, hey, my new song Flowers is out now. Check it out at this link, or something like that.
That's perfect, yeah. If we want to even go over the top just to exaggerate to, really get our point across here, it might be like flowers, exclamation point, exclamation point, and then an explanation of why you named it flowers. Daffodils are the most gorgeous flower that are grown in my garden on Jump Street in my hometown of Burlington, Ontario. I grew up loving them as a child, and here we are, I've released my full-length album, and the music video for Flowers is out now. I would really love if you could take a listen. Thank you so much. So a lot more information, compassionate, emotional response, a lot of storytelling as well. But the overuse of punctuation again, making it less cool, essentially. Both are, but no, it's true. It's true. Depending on who your audience is.
I just realized how uncool I am. I'm sorry.
But like, who cares about being cool, right? Because like, it just, you know what? It's the older you get, the more you realize that being kind is actually so much nicer. So like, whatever. But depending on who your audience is, if you're trying to be cool, if you're trying to be kind, you do actually want to cater to them in the way that you're speaking. So normally you would have a copywriter that does this for you. That's just a really like short crash course and how you would kind of start to position that. But I think across the board, emojis are a really excellent use of language digitally that should be used no matter who your audience is and who you're trying to communicate with, because so much can be communicated through the use of emojis. It truly is its own separate language. So once we figure out what that brand tone is, you're going to also want to update your brand bio across the board. So all of you likely already have a brand bio that is not for social. You probably have a really lengthy bio that goes in your EPK or any kind of other media kits. But your Instagram and your Facebook and your TikTok bios should be a shortened version. Not much information can exist here, but you would just want to make sure that the language that you're using reflects the same language you're using in your copy for your captions. And it doesn't necessarily need to actually match the bio that would go in your APK because there's just so much more space that you're available to use there. Okay. I know that was like a lot of information, very tiny little package. Any clarification on that little bit there on copy, on brand tone? Yes.
I just wanted to delve back a little bit. Are there security concerns with TikTok in terms of the identity stuff that's sort of behind the scenes that's being exposed through that? Not so much through the videos themselves, but is it like, how do you navigate that?
I mean, yes, absolutely there are, but use it at your own discretion. I can't tell you to not use it, and I can't tell you to use it. I simply do know that it is an extremely effective tool at the moment, and it's very easy to grow in this space. One of my brands, we took from 0 to 100K in 5 months. which is unheard of. That's simply not something that can be done on Instagram right now, just because TikTok's new. It's new and it's exciting, and it's very, very easy to grow there. So if you're comfortable with it, the time is now. And if you're not comfortable with it, I totally get that too. Okay. So aside from tone, those two other things that I mentioned, so your aesthetic. So when we talk about aesthetic, this would be filters or a method of editing, the way that your images are actually appearing online, both in an individual format as well as on the grid. Has anyone here seen any examples of Instagram grids that are continuous? I could probably just show you Olivia and the Creepy Crawlies. Okay, so I just sent a link to Olivia and the Creepy Crawlies. So again, this is my old band. You can take a look at what the Instagram grid actually looks like on a continuous basis. So this strategy is called 9 grids. There are a million different ways that you can tweak the appearance of your Instagram account. Many of them are a lot less intensive than this one. What I would recommend is if you're just starting out, to simply stick with the same filter every single time you put an image up. But there are so many different ways that we can get really, really creative and take, essentially pair your music with a matching artistic, it's art. You can really create art in the space and make sure that it feels the same way that you feel about your music. There's so much that you can do with this if you kind of think of it as art in that way. So your aesthetic strategy is how we're treating the images, but your content strategy is what we're actually putting out. So some different types of content we can put out. We can put out standard images. We can put out videos. We can do looping GIFs, which is essentially when it's an animation that as it starts, something will move and the video clip will end at the same place that the video started. So it just looks like it's continually looping in an infinite loop. There are a bunch of different other items that you can do with this. If you're interested, there's a bunch of different apps that I do list in the book as well. Many of them are paid, but they're so worth it to cut a bit of time off of your schedule. If you're interested in really creating some cool stuff that matches your aesthetic, you can also, like, music videos are a bit of an interesting thing right now. It's not like anyone really has the time or the money to put into a music video for a release right now. But instead, if you just focus on putting out like little clips that are like 5 seconds each for little snippets of your songs and make them really interesting and animated using apps that cost you $12 a month, like, it's a good use of your time. Cinemagraph is a really, really excellent one. I would absolutely recommend taking a look and seeing what you can do with that. They have like even, I don't know if you'll know that one, remember that. Cinemagraph has a function in it where you can essentially drag and drop elements that are video and that have already been cut out. So like you can, if you take like say we took a picture of me right here in this living room, you can actually pick like a fire thing and you can add a fire to this chair and it'll look like it's on fire. And you can do that for $12 a month, and then you can just get rid of the app and it's like, holy crap, that looked really cool. How did you make that look so realistic? It's just an app. What's the best length for video clips? Good question. So the shorter the better, because our attention spans are real bad in the pandemic, because we have 100% screen time and we're all captive. We're a captive audience. And so TikTok, I would say, is actually kind of the baseline for video at this moment. If you're creating video, I would make sure it's a max of 30 seconds. But it really just, it depends on what space you're creating this in and where your audience is. Like if you've got a YouTube channel and you've got like 20,000 followers on YouTube channel, then your answer will be different. It might be 10 minutes, it might be half an hour. It just depends on the type of content you make. But if you're just starting out, I would actually just start with like a 5-second clip. A really easy way to make videos and do no work whatsoever. Upload an image to Instagram stories and add a GIF on top of it and then download it. And then all of a sudden you have a video, and now you can actually rack up video views, which Instagram views much better than a standard image. And it's free.
Can I ask you, do you have an opinion about Twitch?
Not really, I'll be honest. My students always ask me this question. I'm like, I don't care. I don't know. Maybe it's important. It hasn't come across to my head yet. Do you have an opinion that I should know about? Please let me know.
So, in the early days of the pandemic, everybody I knew started doing Facebook Live and YouTube live streams.
Yeah.
But they started getting shut down anytime they did covers.
Yeah.
So a couple of friends of mine moved to Twitch, and it's a very different thing, but they don't shut you down for doing covers.
Cool.
Basically, it was gamers that started, right? So it was used for gamers to watch other gamers and all that kind of stuff. But essentially what it is you build your own community.
Mm-hmm.
And then that community kind of sustains you, and you then use each other to build each other's community. So you rate everybody's streams and things like that.
Cool.
And because it hasn't really been used this way before, other than the last year, it's still pretty new. You can actually drive income, like real income, off of 1,000 to 1,500 followers.
Cool. That's dope. Yeah. I truthfully don't know a lot about Twitch, and so you've educated me in that way, and I wish that I could add to that. It sounds interesting. I honestly, maybe I should take a look. Maybe I should look into that. But it's just not my specialty. I don't know enough about it.
I kind of was ignoring it too until a friend of mine basically sent me a message and said, "Dude, stop all the other stuff you're doing and just get over to Twitch."
Who is paying his rent in Toronto from Twitch?
Yeah.
No way. That's cool. That's very cool. Okay. Well, you know what? After this call, I will take a peek.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So we talked about brand tone, aesthetic strategy, and a bit of content strategy. Any questions about those three things? Those are the big three when we're setting up our channels or revising to make sure that we're on brand. Any questions about that stuff?
This is kind of on that topic, Kelly.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about, in terms of scheduling posts and how much planning you do in advance.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations in terms of timelines? Do you allow it to be spontaneous mixed with scheduled? What typically works well?
That's a great question. So that comes next. When we're talking about so this is a content calendar, which I could spend 2 lectures on a content calendar, so we're obviously not going to have enough time for that today. But what I will say, there are many apps out there. The one that I like to use is Asana. There is a free version. I would sign up for one. What it is a project management tool that you can view your content on a monthly basis. So to save you time, because you are musicians at first and social media managers second, or maybe tertiary, you want to make sure that you're scheduling your content so you're not thinking about it all the time, because you want to make sure social media is a crazy thing because it takes so little time to put something up. You don't actually think about and engage with the amount of time that you spend thinking about the content you're creating or brainstorming ideas. So you want to block that off, because otherwise you will think about it constantly, and it can take up like 10 times the amount of time that it would if you schedule it in advance. So once we've figured out what our brand is for our music, we are going to figure out what our community pillars are. This is an interchangeable term with a content pillar. And this is a social media term. It's very new, which is why there are 2 words for it. The 2 terms will duke it out, and in 10 years we will have one term, only one term will live. But if you hear me say them interchangeably, that's because they're the same thing. So Your community pillars are the categories of posts that we're putting out across our social media channels. So when I say categories, a category might be behind the scenes, a category might be band bios, a category might be covers, a category might be something like really cool and niche that you created yourself, like Ask Sam. A category could be like something really cool, like I don't know, Kimmer's like band rituals or something that you do before every show. Whatever it is, you want to have 4 to 5 community pillars a month. And each of your community pillars, and why they're called community pillars, they're supposed to actually speak to the different facets of your audience. So if we know that most of our audience is 18 to 25, female, located in Ontario, likes folk music, but then maybe there's a big chunk, I don't remember what the percentage I said was of our first demographic, but say like maybe 30% of your audience are friends and family located specifically in London, Ontario, and say they're maybe, between 30 and 60. You want to actually have different community pillars that are catering to those different demographics. Your friends and family are probably going to react a lot better to images about you and storytelling about you as a person and your journey. Your fans, your 18 to 25-year-old females, they might react way better to pictures of your bassist that is super hot and sitting in a sauna somewhere. I don't know what your bassist looks like. I've never met him. You want to make sure that you've got a good mix. And you want to actually change that mix up depending on how your audience is reacting to it. So if our band bios are knocking out of the park every single week and we've only put in 2 a month, then you might actually want to finesse that, and you want to include maybe like a weekly one. My throat's really sore. I'm going to take a sip of water. Give me a sec. Anyone want to ask a question in the meanwhile?
So so you were just saying, if one of them is doing really well, that you would do that, maybe update that weekly. And that sort of leads into my question about how often to post. Like some people post every 10 minutes and some people post once a month. And so like, where's the happy medium to stay connected without burning yourself out in front of a screen all the time?
Good question. Okay, so you're going to want to schedule your content for a month in advance. There are some people that do this 2 weeks in advance, and if that works for you, that's cool. It does mean it's a lot more work the more frequently you do it. And this means that you're going to have to actually think about events contextually when they happen, and you might have to change stuff. So here's a good example. Okay, we know that in March we had International Women's Day. By the way, happy International Women's Day, everybody. And then say tomorrow there's like a massive, oh, you know what, a really good one was the royal wedding kerfuffle, all that stuff, right? If you were, I don't know, say you had a track that was actually written about the royals, that would be a really good opportunity to make a joke about it and plug your song. So you still want to leave space for contextual events that happen and to be able to riff on them, because that is the recipe for a viral moment or a viral story. If you're timely, if you hit it immediately as soon as it happens, if it's super niche, so something that's, very specific to a geographic location or to a group of people. And the best niche is something that's large enough that it can blow up, but it's small enough that everybody has the same experience with it. So a couple of my favorite niches to tackle when we're trying to go viral, pitting millennials versus Gen Z is a fan favorite. You should just, so much fun, absolutely. And then also pitting rich people against the poor, Eat the Rich 2020, that was a very fun campaign that happened. And then also, standard geographic locations. If you're all in Toronto, I don't know if you guys remember that that dead raccoon Tio. It was literally just a raccoon that died, and the city didn't pick him up right away. And then people started adding visual items, and it was like cute and weird and sad and great. And it made me so proud to be a part of Toronto because it tied everyone together over this very morbid sense of humor. So I digressed so many different times there because I got so excited about the dead raccoon. Okay, where was I? What was I talking about?
We were talking about how often to post.
Yes.
And you were talking about scheduling a month in advance and then leaving space for contextual events and spontaneously engaging in those. And I was also curious about how political to get. Like
hold that thought, because I will forget about the other thing that we just talked about because it's been a long day. But thank you. How often to post? Okay, so the standard amount, if you haven't been posting for a long time, and this is like, okay, you're jumping back into it, you do not want to be posting too frequently because you will annoy people to the fact that you've been gone for so long, and they will think, oh my God, this person's posted twice in 2 days. I'm unfollowing. I don't want to see this that often. It's just too much. So if you haven't been posted for a while, I would actually just start with 1 post a week and then move that up to 2 posts a week. Standard is 3. 3 posts a week is usually good for Instagram and for Facebook. Stories are actually much more important. So stories, the raw, unfiltered, authentic version of what Instagram and Facebook wishes they were. You want to be posting a minimum of 2 stories per day. That is significantly more important than your actual posting schedule to your grid and to your feed, because it's so far less committal. People don't have to interact with you in any way in order to actually be interacting with you, which is fantastic. A great way to, if you want to gauge if people are liking the stuff you're putting up, is to use the poll function. I use it all the time. Use it on stupid stuff. It's great. People love to share their opinions on absolutely anything, even if you already know what the answer would be to it. You know, you can ask them like, is my dog cute today? Yes, or I'm not sure. And that give them the option to disagree with you. And you will be absolutely surprised at how many people will jump to defend how cute your dog is because they're worried that someone is going to click that they're not sure about it. So frequency, I would recommend between 2 to 3 a week for posts and 2 stories daily minimum. But it's actually better if you do more. If you could do 5 stories a day, that's cool. If you don't have that much to think about or to talk about, then ask them for their opinion on things that are related to the tracks that you've put up. If your music is centered around nature and the environment, and maybe, you know, we all love summer folks, so we've got lots of hippie in us. Like if you want to talk about sustainability, if you want to talk about the environment in a little bit more of a political way, you can do that. You can do a this or that. That's a great community pillar for stories. You know, a sample would be, we're thinking about merch items, but we want to be as environmentally friendly as possible. How do we feel about reusable cutlery versus reusable tumblers? And let them pick. Even if you already know what you're doing, even if you're not planning on doing merch anytime soon, ask them frequently and switch it up. I hope that helped. Okay, now the follow-up question, political. Okay, so you gotta risk it for the biscuit. So if you are willing to be a little bit risky in these spaces, it will always pay off. That payoff could be negative, it could be positive. But if you don't put yourself out there a tiny little bit, your content is gonna be a little boring and a little bit stale, which is fine. If you're trying to just maintain an audience you already have, then maybe you don't have to do that. But being a little bit risky and being a little bit authentic and raw and being genuine about if you're not sure where you stand on something, or being really passionate about where you do stand on something, I am very for it. I like to push my students to do that. if you're comfortable doing it, it's a really great way to resonate with like-minded people. And if not, then you weed out any fans that maybe don't share the same values as you, and that's fine too. Heck 'em. All right. Okay, so now we're at 8:30, so we got another half hour left. I'm gonna take a pause here. Questions?
Do you find it's better to concentrate on one or two platforms as opposed to spreading across all of them?
It depends. So what platforms are you on?
Well, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and about to start on Twitch.
Cool, okay. Your YouTube audience, do you have a lot of subscribers there?
No,
Uh,
I haven't used it for that, but no. My biggest following would be through Facebook.
Okay, and how big's your following on Facebook?
20 some odd hundred people. I'm not sure.
Cool.
2,400, something like that.
Cool. And what about Instagram?
140.
Okay.
Like, I haven't really spent much time on either of those yet. Like, I've spent my life avoiding this. And like, after sitting here for a year and realizing it's probably another year before I can go back to doing anything of what I used to do,
yeah.
I figured it's time to actually care about this stuff.
That's cool. That's cool. I respect that. That's totally fine. Okay, so what I would recommend, if you haven't already put in time and energy into YouTube strategy, don't. And the reason I suggest that is because that is a massive undertaking. It is ginormous. That platform is literally the second largest search engine in the internet, the first being Google. If you haven't already established yourself on YouTube, it is just a waste of time because there are newer, larger video platforms that are growing exponentially. And they have one major, massive difference, the orientation. YouTube, formatted for a TV or for a computer. TikTok, Reels, any of the new video related platforms formatted for a phone, which means that you actually should be shooting for the format that you're creating content on. So if you wanted to be able to use that in other spaces, you would have to have 2 edits, which would be a colossal pain in the butt. So what I would recommend instead would be to pivot that same content you were going to create, put it on Instagram Reels, and put it on TikTok. Shoot it in either a square format or, even better, go straight to 9:16. Can I get a heck yeah?
Oh yeah, I'm on mute. Yes, heck yeah.
Thank you. Oh, all right, great. Great. Okay, so I'm going to spend the rest of our time actually talking about live streaming pivots, if that's okay with you guys, because we don't have all that much time, and I think that's actually a lot more valuable than some of the setup. So before we jump into that, other general social media related questions to your brand and to setting up your social or to figuring out where you're starting. Right.
If you're working across all the different platforms, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, would you say it's worth the time investigating and learning how all the different algorithms work in order to best force your way into the platform?
Do you have unlimited time and or capital?
No.
Then no.
Fair enough.
If you have enough time to do it, I think, that could be useful. That's just more, it's a bigger net to throw to catch more fish, which is great. But it's also like oh my God, that's so much time. It gives me anxiety thinking about it. If I were you, I would cut Twitter. I wouldn't necessarily use Twitter as a way of gaining new fans because it's not set up in a way that benefits musicians, although it is extremely entertaining and all the best content goes there before it hits Instagram. So like clearly something's happening there. But if you were creating content, I would be actually positioning personally as a musician right now. I would position first for TikTok and then for Instagram. First ever, like, which is crazy because Instagram has been the primary focus for the last 10 years. I would actually be focusing on TikTok first and then Instagram, and then I wouldn't worry about Twitter. I might look into Twitch though. That sounds really cool. But yeah, I wouldn't focus on YouTube, wouldn't focus on Twitter.
What about like the on Instagram anyway? What about like the paid ads? Would that be worth money?
Do you have capital to put in?
God, no.
Then no. Instagram ads, a fun thing. Guess where, all of these companies, all of these billion-dollar companies that normally would have money to put into PR and marketing and billboards and TTC ads, guess where they put all of their ad spend this year?
TikTok?
No. That was a good guess. No. Into digital ad spend, into Facebook, into Instagram, into Google ads, into essentially paid ads. So it's the worst possible time to experiment because your cost per click is just astronomical.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry, I had a question about email lists. And this has been a very useful discussion because I'm trying to look at some of what I'm doing now, and I realize I need to redo a lot of it. But we've also always maintained sort of a monthly email distribution list with all the news. And because our demographic has usually been a little bit older, not, people who can get Facebook, but not necessarily Instagram and Twitch and TikTok and all that. Do you think that's still a valuable thing to maintain? I've put a lot of focus into maintaining the website and then this email distribution.
What is your open rate?
Oh gosh, it's been a while since I looked because we haven't sent very many. Yeah, it wasn't that great actually.
Yeah, I would just think about any sort of social media activities as a dollar figure. Like if you have time and capital, then totally continue doing them. But these things are so time consuming. Like if I were you, I would, until events are actually back on, I would put a pause to that. Unless your open rate is phenomenal, unless it's like 50% and above, then yeah, sure, continue doing it for the, depending on how many people you've got, that can be something very valuable to you. But it would depend on what your open rate is and how much time it takes you to do it. If that is a weekly endeavor that takes 3 hours to compile, oh heck no, I would save your time and your energy and your resources and put that somewhere else.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions before we get into live streaming?
Kelly, I just wanted to quickly ask, I inherited a Hootsuite account and I am just debating, should I keep using it or should I ditch it and just post by platform?
Good question. So what platforms are you currently posting on?
Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay. So for everyone else, Hootsuite is a scheduling platform that essentially allows you to create content and it goes out on several platforms all at once. I would, okay, I'm gonna give you the whole spiel. So both Facebook and Instagram penalize the use of third-party apps now, which means that your engagement will be limited whenever you're scheduling them, even though Hootsuite is actually a partner of theirs. So you can do that if you're putting paid ad spend and boosting every single post that you put up, which if you are, great. If you've got $5 to put into every post, some people can afford that, that's excellent. But otherwise, it's actually better to schedule natively within Facebook and then share directly to Instagram or to post natively to Instagram because your engagement will be affected enough. However, if you've been running it a certain way for a number of years, you might have already done yourself in a little bit, and the algorithm might actually pick up that you're using a third-party app and your engagement might be stunted. So yeah, if I were you, I would switch. I would stop sharing it to Twitter, and I would instead try scheduling natively and see if you notice a difference in your Instagram likes. Like if you're getting 80 likes now and then all of a sudden you're cracking 100 on every single post, then you know, okay, this is, maybe we don't do that anymore. But if it's not a big difference and it's a big time saver for you, then yeah, continue doing it, because it might be done, the damage might be done anyway, and maybe it doesn't matter all that much.
Oh, okay, thanks, Kelly. That's really interesting. I'll try not using it and see if that makes a significant change.
Let me know. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm always curious. Cool. How to moderate and deal with the haters in comments, threads, or conflict between followers blowing up on threads. Oh, I love this question. I love this question. Okay, so there is no such thing as bad PR. And this is a really important thing when we're talking about ad spend as well, because things that go viral tend to have a really low cost per click. There is relationship between those two things. If people are naturally commenting on things, it is significantly easier to go viral, whether it is something positive or negative. So encouraging dialogue is fantastic, unless there is specific vitriol or specific discrimination or hatred against you, yourself, or members of a larger group. So if there's sexism or racism or any of the isms, then you might want to actually consider how that's impacting those specific people. Otherwise, if it's about you and you've got a bit of a thicker skin, it's an excellent opportunity to make bad jokes and let your followers defend you and don't say anything at all. Because one, it'll show that you don't care, and it gives your followers a chance to actually rally around you, which is great. It'll hurt your feelings. It'll feel real bad for a while. I've been here. But what you want to do is actually look up something called a social media crisis communication plan. It'll give you literally step-by-step what you do if something like this happens. So say something you said in an interview was taken out of context, and somebody thinks that you said something, I don't know, oh, here's a good one. Like if, you're taking the good old, if someone says like, oh, men are trash in relation to like say you said it in a joking format between your boyfriend and that's who you're speaking to. This didn't happen to me. I know it sounds really specific the way I just started rolling with it, but I swear it didn't happen. I'm just making it up. So, okay, so you've got people that are accusing you of being sexist or accusing you of whatever it might be. Immediately, you want to address that they've said anything at all. Don't ignore it. Don't delete it. Don't ban them. Don't block them, because it's a lost opportunity for you. You want to first address that anything was said. Oh, hey, like so-and-so, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. It sounds like you're upset at X, Y, and Z. And then clarify clearly and concisely if you did what they're saying you did or if you didn't. If you actually screwed up, say you screwed up and go, oh, you're right, I'm an idiot, I shouldn't have said that. Please forgive me. Thanks for pointing it out. And then let them argue if you want, but don't address it ever again. Not in that comment thread, let it go. Make your one comment be the solid comment to that response. If you didn't do it, this is where it's fun. You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna say, oh, like, I'm so sorry, but this was a miscommunication. This is actually what was said. Thanks for bringing this to my attention. Have a great rest of your day. That will likely go on for a while. And then you can actually just, depending on how serious the situation is, you can say things that have nothing to do with the situation. Like you can just give them facts about science as response. You can tell them what you ate for lunch. You can goad them a little bit. You can ask your followers what they think. You can say, oh, interesting point. I'm curious what other people think about this. The more conversation, the lower your cost per click, the better your engagement, and the more risky your content, which means you actually will grow your followers. It's a controversial take, but it works. Yeah. Questions? You guys are like, oh, she's the worst. She's trying to get me into fights. Oh, that Kelly. Alrighty. I'm gonna close this. I mean, you guys can fist fight people if you want. It's up to you. All right, so we're gonna talk about going live. So there is a checklist for going live. This checklist, in the age of COVID, teaching you how to promote a live concert's a bit of a bad joke, because, you know, there's no live concerts to go to. Many musicians have successfully pivoted into live streams, whether that's on Facebook or on Instagram, or I suppose on Twitch as well. I am by no means an expert on the subject. I am not a performing musician at this point in time, and I want to give that disclaimer for that reason. I'm not an expert, but this is my list of suggestions for going live from a marketing standpoint. So first, you're going to want to have a rehearsal live. Not enough people do this. Test your audio quality in the exact room that you're going to go live with the exact equipment and the exact audio. You will quickly determine if your Wi-Fi signal is not strong enough to support an Instagram live. You'll quickly determine if your lighting is not good enough, if your audio compatibility doesn't work with that computer. The list of issues that could come up go on. Test it in the exact room with the exact setup. Just set up a fake Instagram account. It takes a couple seconds to set one up. And that way you're not actually showing it to any of your followers. Or you can just, if you want, you could just put up a story and say, hey, I'm doing a test. Don't mind me. Start your live. You'll see some people roll in. You can make some bad jokes and go, you're not supposed to see this. This is not for you. And then give it a go and then close it up. Second, you want to go tethered with an actual camera, if you can, instead of your computer camera. There are many ways to do this using a secure key. Normally I would give a few links. After this, I will send an email to Skylar with some links, and then Skylar will, will distribute it to everybody else. So going tethered essentially means that you're, instead of just using your computer video and your computer audio, you're gonna have a separate setup. It will just be a better quality, a better experience for your people. And it's not that hard. It's not as hard as you think. It's just very technical, and that's not my forte to explain technical things. I prefer bad jokes. Okay, number 3, you're gonna schedule your live. So lives on Facebook and Instagram, or actually I think it's only Facebook, can be scheduled, which will give you an announcement preview post. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about when I say announcement preview post. It literally says, so-and-so is going live on this date. And it gives them a little button that says get reminder. So you want, which is number 4, you want to push the get reminder as your call to action. You want to use that in your marketing when you're trying to push your live. You want to say, hey, I'm running an Instagram live on March 16th or on March 8th with Summer Folk called the Literacy Tune-Up. I'd love it if you joined. Get reminder below so that you don't miss out on the action. It's the only way you can get that call to action is if you schedule it. Schedule it. Number 5, turn on auto-generated captions. For those that aren't sure, they want to commit just yet, which sounds really counterintuitive to you guys as musicians, because hopefully they're listening to it with audio, but there are many people that are just not sure if they want to commit and if it's something that is worth their time just yet. So turn on your auto-generated captions. And then the other part of this is too, for accessibility, it's actually very nice for those that can't experience music in the same way. Maybe they're just there to actually also view it visually, which is a nice thing. Music is a universal language, so just if you can, have captions. 6, this is my favorite, tie in a physical element if you can. Some cheap ways to do this, and in your promotion, because you're going to be pushing your live just as you would a concert or a show, right? So anybody want to take a stab at how many times somebody needs to see something before they actually purchase something? take a stab, any stab.
Isn't it 4?
It's not 4.
Is it like 9 or 15 or something?
It's not 9 or 15. It is not.
I want to say 7 for some
It is
reason.
7.
Oh.
Congratulations, 7. Those were all good guesses, by the way. So someone in marketing world, you have to see something 7 times before you purchase. And when we talk about that funnel of purchasing something, at the very top, it's brand awareness, and at the very bottom, it's actually buying the product. In the middle, it's consideration. So when we're talking about promoting something like showing up to a live, that would be in the consideration field. We're not asking them to spend money, but we're asking them to invest their time, which is still something that's, it still has weight. So you need to be promoting it at least 4, 5, maybe 7 if you can, times before they actually will commit to showing up to it. Putting a post up once that you've got an Instagram live is not enough. Putting it up twice is not enough. 3 times might be good, 4 times might be good, 5 is good, 6 is good, 7 is good. So in one of your 7 different touches or 7 different types of posts, and that's not just posts, that could be stories, that could be videos, that could be GIFs, that could be standalone images, that could be anything at all. But out of one of those 7, or maybe a couple of those 7, offer to mail out a set list. Snail mail is very, very cool and very, very in. Literally put up a post. Maybe it can be a beautiful image of some handwritten set lists, or maybe even an invitation. Invitations are very cool if you make it invitation only. A secret invitation goes a very long mile. And if you want to be super extra and go the extra mile, scent is a really strong element of nostalgia and memory. You could incorporate lavender or lemon, anything you got lying around the house. Literally incorporate that in the invitation to make them feel like, holy crap, I'm actually excited for this. It's not just an Instagram live. It is a bit of an experience. They're going the extra mile. They've mailed something out. I feel like I might actually get dressed up for this thing. So you can spray your set list. Spray it with a specific perfume. Make a sensory experience. Extend it past digital. Not enough people just like treat them like you're dating them, you know? You want them to be a little like, oh, this is what they smell like? Excellent. I was really curious about that. Or send them to, you know, a really good example that's not like, I'm kind of joking, I'm not really joking, but Aburitora is this excellent sushi place in Toronto. They have a larger company, I don't remember, I think it's Miku Toronto. They have a sushi court, or a food court sushi version, and then they have a sit down restaurant version. One is $500 an experience. One is approximately $50 an experience. The difference between the price point, it has nothing to do with the quality of the fish, nothing to do with the quality of the food. It has everything to do with the ambiance, with the scents, with the textures, with the treatment. You want to give them that treatment. Think about it from that kind of perspective. What sets you apart from another Instagram live that they put the bare minimum into? So trying to make it a sensory experience, actually, it's neat. Number 7, involve your audience. So in your secret invitations that you're mailing out, that might cost you, maybe it'll cost you $10 for envelopes and stamps, maybe. You could even, if you don't want to mail out things, you could also just have an invitation online on your website. Suggest that they all get a specific drink. Give them something that unifies them. All right, we are doing Bloody Marys for our Bloody Hell release show. Or we're doing margaritas or pina coladas for Sleepless in Hawaii. That's our theme. Tell them to wear a specific color. Let them get into the theme. You know, something that's like really odd and very, very, was very useful. I don't know if you guys ever in college or university went to a themed party that at the time you were like, oh, this is so dumb. And then you get there and everyone's having a great time and you're like, huh, it was dumb, but like I'm having fun. That's the vibe we're going for. Don't be afraid to try and push people to come into a bit of an experience. So ask them to all wear Hawaiian shirts. Ask them to wear neutral tones. You know, if you want to even make a signature drink and send out a recipe before, it's cool. You'll be surprised at what people will do because they're super bored because there's a pandemic on. I don't know if you guys knew this, but we're very bored. We're willing to do anything you ask us to. So involve your audience. All right, and then last, sending out sheet music, lyrics, or anything more related to the actual music element of it so that people can play along is always a really cool added little piece. Lyrics are nice because there's no fear there. They're in their homes, they're comfortable. No one's gonna feel weird about singing along or playing along. All right, I don't think I have time to get into the other like half of the material I had prepared. So I'm gonna open this up to questions now. How do we feel? Were those bad ideas that are good ideas? Do we like it? Are we happy?
No, those are actually really great ideas. A musician friend of mine from Nova Scotia had a very successful, well, it's still ongoing, series of live streams called Tunes and Wooden Spoons. And they bake cookies. It just started as a lark one day. She was going to bake cookies and play some tunes. And now it's a regular weekly thing. And they've got a huge following, people comparing recipes, and she gives the recipe and shows you how to make something. Meanwhile, either she or one of her other musician friends is playing live music for the person cooking. And then people just keep posting pictures of how their version of the recipe turned out. And it's really, I say it's exactly what you said. It really gives people a chance to participate. And
that's
and another friend of mine, as one of the bonuses she gave away for people who contributed to a GoFundMe for one of her recordings, was she sent out handwritten copies of her mom's Cape bread and oat cake recipe.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was a food item that's intimately associated with the food and the culture around the music of the recording she was putting out.
That's amazing.
It's amazing how much people would pay just to get a handwritten, mailed in an envelope with a stamp copy of that recipe.
Well, truthfully, it's not just the recipe, right? She created an experience where she made people feel like they were a part of something when they're feeling really detached from reality and the normal things they like to enjoy. I think that's really beautiful. Nice. Do we have any other questions or any other cool things that we've noticed other musicians doing during this time that might be valuable to other members that are listening? Are you guys tired? Me too.
Something that I like to do and a lot of my friends like to do is take a cover song and twist it into use either, wacky instruments or do it in a completely different genre of music or anything like that.
Love that. That's in MIA we call that a creative cover. And my favorite way to suggest that is, we're all folkies here, but if anyone wants to cover a metal track, like these very specific niche communities are so supportive of one another. Anybody know the Bronx here?
The Bronx?
The Bronx.
Oh, the Bronx.
Yeah. Are you familiar with their mariachi album?
No.
Well, they released an album and they changed their name to Mariachi El Bronx for this one mariachi album. And it is phenomenal. And the amount, like I literally heard about them because of the mariachi album. It's a fantastic way to get new fans that you didn't think you would have. Creative covers, I'm very on board with that. That's very cool. Also, if everyone needs some homework, Mariachi El Bronx. Excellent, excellent. Self-titled for their one and only mariachi album. I would recommend taking a listen. It's fantastic. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? We got 6 minutes.
Kelly, do you use Pinterest at all? I know that it's kind of old school at this point, but I keep seeing it actually coming up more um, in relation to content. So they're still using the photo as the hook, but there's sort of a link sending you to somewhere else. Is that anything you're using or recommending?
Not necessarily for musicians, but if you have a different element of your music that is very visual based, like if you were trying to push a merch item, that would be a good. Pinterest is fantastic for SEO, which is obviously not the subject of what we're discussing right now, but it is like the best tool for upping your SEO game because you can create a unique link on every single post that you put out, which is phenomenal. But it's, yeah, I would need to know a little bit more about you and how that could be relative. But the short answer is yes, just depends on how you use it. But also another intensely time-consuming platform. Like that is like, it's so big. Oh my, it's not as big as YouTube, but it's like, holy crap, that's a lot of time. Well, you've all been absolutely wonderful. This has been lovely. I hope that you weren't like, oh, geez, this woman talks too much. This has been a long evening. But I'm happy that even if you think that, you've kept it to yourself because my feelings get hurt super easy. So.
Not sure you already talked about your strategy with comments.
Oh no, you both were speaking over one another. I didn't hear the things.
You go ahead.
Oh, I said I was speaking for the group and saying, of course, Kelly, we loved it, and we did not feel any angst towards you whatsoever or anything.
Well, that's
I was calling you on saying that your feelings get hurt real easy because we've already heard about your strategy on comments.
That's true. I still get my feelings hurt. You just don't see it. I'm behind the scenes.
Good poker face.
Yes, but really, I'm crying in my bathtub. It's very complex.
Let's not do that.
Okay, team. Well, maybe we will wrap this up unless we have any other questions.
Doug.
Yeah, do you do like consulting and stuff?
I do. I am not taking any consultant clients for March, but if you want to email me or message me after this, we can chat. I'd be happy to talk about after March. Cool. Well, thank you all. This has been lovely. It's been very nice getting to know each of you, and I hope that you won't hesitate to reach out. You can message me on Instagram or you can email me with any questions particular to your music or your brand. I'll do my best to help. If it requires more, then I might not be able to help, but I'll do whatever I can. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.